The stars above shimmered like frozen fire as the transport ship Artemis Bloom exited hyperspace. Captain Ilya Wren blinked hard against the nausea that followed every jump, then reached instinctively toward the worn medallion hanging under his collar. It wasn't for luck, it was a reminder, a token from the last planet he ever believed in, Aurelius 9, the forbidden one, the one that was never supposed to exist, the one he saw burn with his own eyes 20 years ago. Approaching grid point Bravo, said Navtech Lyson, eyes glued to the interface. But, Captain, the mass signature is off. How off? There's nothing here. No asteroid debris, no planetary ring, just void. Ilya's pulse quickened. The mission was simple. Locate remains of Aurelius 9 for the Intergalactic Science Assembly. But staring at the empty black, he suddenly felt 20 years elapse in on him. A planet doesn't vanish. It can be shattered, scarred, glassed but not erased. He pressed the scanned the gravity well. Use passive readings only. The ship hummed as its sensors whispered through space. An eternity passed before Lyson's voice cracked the silence. Captain, there's a gravitational echo here. Something massive was here. But now, nothing. Ilya's thoughts spiraled. The official report said the planet self-destructed due to unstable core elements. But no core collapse would wipe a planet clean from space-time. And no echo this strong should remain 2 decades later. He felt the old pain return, memories of a boy with a telescope, watching as something impossibly bright swallowed Aurelius 9 whole. Not fire, not light, something else, like it had been consumed. Prepare the recon probe, Ilya said, standing slowly. Sir, Lyson frowned, there's nothing to map. Exactly, I want to see why. As the probe deployed, data streamed in emptiness, cold vacuum, residual radiation. But then, the feed froze. The image flickered. Something shimmered on the edge of the void, a faint outline, a curve. No, a structure, Ilya, Lyson whispered, voice shaking. That's not a rock, that's a building, he finished. The outline shifted, visible only under low light inversion. Geometry to perfect. Walls, angles, towers, suspended in nothing. Get us closer, 20 clicks, Ilya ordered. The Artemis Bloom inched forward, sensors now fully manual, weapons offline. The crew fell into silent routine, trained, tense, but rattled by the weight of the impossible. And then the voice came. You do not belong. It wasn't through comms. It bypassed every sensor, every security layer. A thought pressed directly into their minds, not just words but emotion, intent, something ancient. Ilya dropped to his knees, clutching his skull as images flashed crystal cities, alien stars, beings made of fractal light, and then, finally, darkness swallowing it all. Captain, Lyson gasped, hull temperature is dropping fast. We're bleeding heat into vacuum like something's pulling it out. I see it, Ilya hissed through clenched teeth. Back off now. The ship groaned as they reversed, breaking away from the anomaly's grasp. Behind them, the image flickered once more, then disappeared completely. There's no record of that, Lyson said, checking the logs. Nothing saved. Sensors show empty space. Of course they do, Ilya said darkly. Just like before. The crew sat stunned as he leaned back, staring out into the stars. I saw that place as a child. I thought it was a dream. When Aurelius 9 vanished, I thought it was destroyed, but it didn't die. It was taken, shifted out of phase, out of reality. Hidden. The planet was never real, because it was never ours to begin with. He paused, then turned toward the command console, opening a hidden, unmarked file of voice recording from 20 years ago. A woman's voice.com/measured. Tired. If you're hearing this, Ilya, it means they found you. Or maybe, you found them. Either way, you must listen. Aurelius 9 was never a planet, it was a door, and I locked it shut. But doors can open again. The voice faded into static. Who was that? Lyson whispered. My mother, Ilya said. Quietly, she died in the incident. At least, that's what I thought. A warning siren chirped. A new object had appeared, just outside sensor range, hovering silently. Not a ship, not natural, a triangle-shaped construct, pulsing with violet light. It hadn't been there a second ago. Sir, it's Lyson began. I know, Ilya said. It's here for me. The construct began to move, impossibly fast, closing the distance between them. The crew scrambled to activate shields, engines, weapons. None responded. You opened the memory. You are the key. Greater than time twisted. Stars bent, and in the final moment before the construct enveloped them in light, Ilya saw the impossible. Aurelius 9, rebuilt, floating, alive, but not in this universe. And then the light swallowed them. The light faded like the memory of a nightmare, and Ilya found himself standing not on a ship, not in space, but on solid ground. He staggered back, blinking against a sky painted in hues no human language could describe. Above him, twin suns drifted across a lavender horizon, casting long shadows from obsidian towers that curved toward the heavens like frozen lightning. The air was warm, alive, humming with some unseen force that made his skin tingle. Ilya Wren, a voice, said. Beside him, he spun, fists clenched, instincts raw. But the figure standing there wasn't alien. It was his mother, or something wearing her face. She looked exactly as she had 20 years ago. Short brown hair, sharp cheekbones, eyes that always saw too much. But those eyes now glowed faintly, as if reflecting stars from another sky. "You're not her," he said. "No," the figure replied, "but I carry her memories. Her final thoughts, she gave them to me so you'd listen." Ilya's heart pounded. "Where am I?" "You're between," she said. "Where the forbidden lives. Where forgotten planets wait." He stepped back, scanning the impossible city around him. Buildings shifted subtly when he wasn't looking. The shadows moved without wind. Somewhere, in the distance, something roared deep and low, like the planet itself was breathing. "Why bring me here?" he asked. "You opened the memory. You brought the key. And now they know." The figure didn't answer. Instead, she turned and pointed toward a monolith at the center of the city. It was a single black spire, towering above everything else, its surface rippling like water under moonlight. "That is the lock," she said. "And what lies behind it should never wake." Ilya clenched his jaw. "I was told the planet was destroyed." "By who?" she asked softly. "Who benefits from forgetting?" He flinched. Flashbacks surged his mother's classified research, her whispers about a power beyond physics, a truth hidden beneath Aurelius 9. He remembered the last day, the fire in the sky, the way her shuttle had vanished before the planet did. A trap, a sacrifice. What was this planet? He asked. "It wasn't a planet," she said. "It was a construct, a prison, built by them. But over time, it became more. It learned, it evolved, it loved, and then, it dreamed of being free." A tremor rocked the ground. The black spire pulsed once violet light, spiraling up its surface like veins awakening in stone. "What's happening?" Ilya demanded. "You're not the only one who found the door," she said. "Others are coming. From your side, and they don't want to lock it again." Suddenly, a beam of light cracked the sky. Ilya turned just in time to see a rift open, pure white, tearing reality like paper. Through it emerged a sleek warship, marked with the insignia of the Galactic Directive, the Astra Judicium, a Hunter-class destroyer. "They followed me," Ilya whispered. "No," the figure said grimly. "They were always watching. You were the excuse." The warship hovered above the city, its weapons charging. Ilya felt its energy building, a countdown he couldn't see, a time-limited choice breathing down his neck. "We have to stop them," he said. "If they fire, they'll break the seal," she finished, "and then it will awaken." He ran toward the monolith, heart hammering. "How do I shut it down?" "You don't," she said behind him. "You offer something in return. Balance must be kept." "Like what?" She hesitated. He stopped cold. The word struck deeper than any bullet. "I'm the key," he murmured. She nodded. "You inherited her mind, her memories, her access. You can reseal it. If you give up your place in the waking world." The warship loomed larger, its beam beginning to condense into a singularity. Ilya felt the heat, building in the air, the vibration through the ground. Seconds left. He turned to the monolith. Its surface now shimmered with images his childhood, his mother, the planet's final moments. Then a single phrase etched itself across the surface. Choose. Behind him. A siren screamed as the warship powered its weapon. In front of him, the monolith opened like a mouth made of light. Ilya sprinted forward toward the light, toward sacrifice, toward the only hope. But just as he leaped, he heard a voice in his head, not his mother's. Deeper, colder, ancient. "You were never the key." He froze in mid-air. The light turned red, the monolith vanished, and the sky shattered. Ilya fell into nothing, screaming not in fear, but in betrayal, because the lock had never been waiting for him. It had been waiting for something else, something that had just stepped through the rift, and it was wearing his mother's face. Ilya's scream was swallowed by the void as he tumbled through emptiness that felt colder than death. His body didn't fall so much as unravel memories tearing like paper, time fragmenting around him. He saw his childhood telescope drift past, then a blood-stained mission badge, then his mother, smiling through tears, whispering something he couldn't hear. Light flared in the distance. Then dark, then silence. When he awoke, he was alone. A barren, cracked surface stretched beneath him, glowing faintly with veins of purple energy. Above, the sky was still but wrong. No stars, no suns, just a pulsing dome of shimmering color, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. He pushed himself up, dizzy, heart pounding. His suit was intact, but the HUD was flickering wildly. No location data, no time data, no comms, no anchor to reality. A whisper coiled in his ear, not through speakers, not through air. You fell through the memory. Now you see the truth. Greater than he turned sharply. A figure stood on the horizon, tall, draped in robes that shifted like liquid shadow. Its face was hidden behind a mask of twisting geometry. It didn't walk, it arrived. "What are you?" Ilya croaked. The mask shifted, revealing glimpses of dozens of faces, human, alien, mechanical, and some that defied form entirely. "I am what remains when memory rots." It raised a hand. Around Ilya, the ground erupted with images, frozen snapshots from his past. His first command, his mother's last message. The birth of Aurelius 9, a council room, cloaked in golden silence, where officials argued over a secret no one dared record. They made the planet, not to live on, but to bury something. Flashes of strange symbols, a chamber deep beneath the surface, a sarcophagus of pure light, sealed, contained. Then what is it? Ilya demanded. What's inside the lock? A mind, a world, a god that forgot it was a prisoner. Ilya staggered. You're saying Aurelius 9 wasn't just a prison, it was alive? The figure didn't answer. A sudden roar ripped the stillness apart. Above, cracks formed in the dome of color. Through them poured light, pure, searing, unnatural. And through the light came ships. Not one, not dozens, hundreds, directive warships, corporate freighters, salvager swarms, all chasing the signal, all descending toward the thing they were told never existed. They're going to break the seal, Ilya whispered. They already have. He looked up in horror as one of the ships, a mining rig, pierced the dome. The moment it crossed the veil, it vanished, not exploded, not destroyed, just erased. A smear of static in the shape of a ship. Then came the sound. Low, wet, hungry. The sky convulsed as a form emerged, a mass of fractal limbs and starlit eyes, rising like a mountain of thought and rage. The prison was no longer empty. The prisoner had remembered itself. Ilya turned to the figure. What do I do? You can't stop it. You can only choose where it starts. Suddenly, a wave of light struck the ground, hot, searing, and filled with voices. His crew, Lyson, the others, screaming, begging, calling his name. He saw them now, aboard the Artemis Bloom, caught in the boundary between worlds. Systems failing, whole, tearing, and at the center of it, a new figure, his mother's face, but not his mother. It was her body, but the voice that came from her mouth was wrong. Too deep, too cold, too other. Ilya, come home. You were promised. Greater than no, he whispered. You're not her, but I am what she left behind. Flashes exploded in his mind, her last memory before death, her consciousness splintered and absorbed by the construct. She had never died. She had become part of the lock. And now, part of the thing it was holding. He felt his sanity waver. His hands trembled. Then the masked figure stepped closer and placed a cold hand on his chest. The door needs a new memory to bind it. Greater than, what does that mean? You are not the key, but you are the price. Greater than, and just like that, the ground split beneath him, and he fell again, this time upward, pulled back into the broken world above. The Artemis Bloom was in ruins. Fire and gravity fought over its carcass. Crew members were frozen mid-motion, caught in temporal fracture, and at the center, the false mother turned slowly toward him. You came back, she said softly. No, Ilya replied. I never left. He raised the medallion from his neck. It pulsed with a light he'd never seen before, no longer just a memory, but a shard of the planet's will. His mother's last wish. And for a moment, the false mother hesitated. Ilya, what are you doing? He closed his eyes and whispered, giving you back what you took. He pressed the medallion against her forehead. The ship screamed, the stars blinked, and in that instant, the entity wearing his mother's skin began to burn, not with fire, but with light made of truth. She shrieked, not in pain, but in confusion. We're never supposed to remember. She howled, but it was too late. The door was opening again, and Ilya wasn't falling anymore. He was being pulled in. Time shattered into spirals as Ilya was pulled inward, not through space, but through remembrance. Every memory he had, every joy, loss, fear, dream peeled away in thin layers, as if the thing drawing him in was unmaking him to understand. Him, the medallion, still hot in his palm, pulsed like a heartbeat. His heartbeat, or maybe the planet's, maybe both now. He landed hard on a surface that wasn't solid, but willed into form. A canyon of thoughts stretched around him, formed from memory, regret, and something deeper, something alive. Above, the sky rippled with shifting faces. Some were his, some were hers. Some were unrecognizable, but felt familiar, like déjà vu, laced with dread. The voice returned. You carry her echo. That makes you known. But not safe. Greater than, I didn't ask to be known, Ilya muttered, pushing to his feet. No one ever does. A path formed ahead. Flanked by hovering fragments of the past, his mother whispering to the council, warning them of something buried too deep, their faces pale with fear, refusing to fund the project she called Containment Memory Layer. And then other scientist engineers, soldiers working underground in silence, beneath Aurelius 9, building not walls, but not technology, but containment of self-aware memory. The monolith hadn't held a prisoner, it had held a mind that remembered what it was before creation, and now, it was awake. As he walked, the ground pulsed with her voice, and at his mother's, not the thing that wore her, but something in between, a fading whisper. You must bury me again, Ilya, you must forget me. He stopped. Why? Who are you now? The whisper came again. I was the last warden, but even I've been reshaped. It's not just me anymore. It's dreaming through me. Suddenly, the sky cracked. and light poured through a new rift opening in the distance. Through it came another ship, small, fast, unmarked. It veered wildly off course, as if pulled by invisible forces. Ilya squinted and saw someone in the cockpit. Lyson. Still alive. The voice screamed in his skull. He is the witness. If he escapes, the door never closes. Greater than the path beneath Ilya collapsed into a spiraling pit. And he fell again, this time into a place so dark it erased sound. A single moment floated before him, his mother standing in the chamber, alone, facing the glowing lock, her hand on it, her last words recorded into the medallion. I did this to protect you. He reached out. And then a different memory flashed. One that didn't belong to him. A being. Of light. Endless, starborn. Shackled in a lattice of thought and steel. A voice that spoke before time. I was the architect of stars. I gave fire to the first minds. And they feared me for dreaming. Greater than he gasped. It wasn't just a mind in the monolith, that it was a former god, forgotten, caged, now fractured and bleeding into the minds of those who touched the door, and his mother. She had been the first to truly understand. She hadn't died. She had volunteered. Surface from the memory pit onto the fractured deck of the Artemis Bloom. Flames danced in silence. The stars beyond the viewport were wrong-bent, looped, forming impossible constellations. Time was collapsing. Lyson appeared beside him, pale, shaking, bleeding from one eye. Captain, what is this place? A broken memory of a broken god, Ilya said, and we're inside it. Lyson lifted a trembling hand. Then how do we get out? Ilya looked at the medallion. We don't, but you do. No, I opened the door. I carry the echo. I'm the memory it's rewriting. You're not. Before Lyson could protest, Ilya placed the medallion in his hand and shoved him toward the last working escape pod, buried behind half-collapsed bulkheads. This ship's not real anymore. But that padit's made from your thoughts. Your will, write it out. Tell them to stop looking. Ilya, go. Lyson climbed in. The door sealing. The pod launched, reality cracking open as it vanished into the rift. Ilya turned toward the monolith that now loomed again, fully formed in the heart of the bridge. It pulsed, waiting. I remember you now, Ilya said, and the voice came back. Calm now, older, and I remember myself. Thank you. The monolith opened. A single step remained. He walked into the light, but just before he vanished, a new scream echoed across the void. Something else had stepped through the rift. Lyson escaped through. Not a human, not a god, something. Worse. Something that had waited behind all the other doors. And now, it remembered us. The scream tore through layers of thought like a blade through silk. Ilya turned, halfway into the monolith, his pulse stalling in his chest. That sound didn't belong here. It didn't belong anywhere. It wasn't pain or rage. It was recognition, kind that made you feel seen by something that you shouldn't be able to see you. The light inside the monolith flickered. It is not of me. Greater than the ancient voice murmured. It is the other, the one they sealed behind forgetting itself. Greater than Ilya's thoughts, twisted as images flooded him, brief, broken, burning. The galactic directive had known of two, not one, two. The first had been chained beneath a real, the second had been discarded, left in a fault line of memory. A god not caged in steel or stone, but buried in human thoughts scattered across minds, dormant in stories, rumors, dreams. And now, one of those minds had come too close. Lyson. Ilya's chest seized. He bolted back out of the monolith, stumbling, as the bridge of the Artemis Bloom reshaped itself beneath his feet, floor becoming mirror. Walls echoing names never spoken aloud. In the distance, through the viewing glass, a shape hovered in the rift where Lyson's escape pod had vanished. But this was not a ship. It was a presence, an outline of shifting flame and bone, constantly rearranging, constantly remembering itself. Wrong, it had no face, just a mask that changed every second, flickering between human and alien and void. Around it, the stars bent inward. Ilya, a voice said behind him. He turned. Lyson stood there, out of breath, wide-eyed, unchanged, or so it seemed, until he smiled. And Ilya saw it. The flicker, the wrongness in his eyes. I thought you made it out, Ilya said, stepping back. I did, Lyson replied. But something came with me, something curious. The bridge shook, time twitched, screens began bleeding, static that formed words. Let us in. Ilya looked to the monolith. It pulsed faster now, red veins forming across its surface. You shouldn't be here, Ilya said. This isn't your story. Lyson tilted his head. Isn't it? You forgot we were both born from the same lie, only you had a mother. I had a mission. He stepped closer. Do you know what happens when a memory is shared by too many minds? It becomes real. That's what they feared most. Not the prisoner, but the idea of it. And I'm full of ideas now. He raised his hand. The ship peeled open like fruit. Beyond the rift, more shapes emerged, less distinct, more terrible. Things that looked like thoughts trapped in gravity. Things that whispered futures that hadn't happened yet. The monolith screamed. The god inside writhed. I cannot hold both. One must be forgotten. Greater than I won't let him through, Ilya said. He's not just infected. He is the infection. Lysen grinned. And you are the gate. Ilya ran toward the monolith. It resisted him now, confused by two truths, two paths. Lysen walked behind him, slowly, patiently, shadows pooling at his feet. The air became heavy with memory not yet lived. Choose, the monolith said. Lock him in, and seal it forever. But your name will be erased. Greater, then what does that mean? Ilya gasped. You will never be known. Never be remembered. The story ends with him. Ilya turned back. Lysen was so close now. His eyes were pure white. His voice came in echoes. You wanted to know what she died for. The truth, she didn't die. She surrendered. Same as you're about to. Same as I never will. The monolith flared. A countdown began, not with numbers, but with moments. Flashes of the real world cracking. Earth's sky growing darker. People forgetting things they never knew they knew. The infection spreading, back through time itself. Ilya, the monolith whispered, this is your last memory. He nodded. I understand. He turned to Lysen, raised the medallion, and whispered a phrase in his mother's voice. The ship fractured. The rift exploded inward. Lysen lunged, and Ilya caught him in a hug. The medallion pressed into Lysen's chest. Transfer complete. The monolith devoured them both. Silence fell. The rift closed. All that remained was a single memory, buried deep in the collective unconscious of every sentient being, a smile they couldn't place, a voice they couldn't name, a feeling that, once someone made a choice for all of them, and they would never know who, but far beyond. In the black between galaxies, a lone figure stood in a memoryscape of cracked stone and lavender skies. Ilya, alive, alone, and somewhere, behind him, something stirred, something that had watched him choose, and whispered, one choice remains. Ilya didn't turn around. The voice behind him wasn't hostile. It wasn't kind either. It was curious. As if the act of choosing had summoned something older than even the god he'd locked away, a presence not bound to form or time, but decision. He stood on a plane of forgotten thoughts now. The sky above him wasn't sky. It was consciousness, spinning in infinite loops. Beneath his feet, symbols pulsed like nerves under skin. One choice remains. He repeated. I already made it. You made a sacrifice. Greater than the voice agreed, but not a conclusion. What you sealed was one thread. The weave still phrase, greater than. He turned slowly. There was no figure, just a mirror. A perfect reflection of himself, but hollow, as if his soul had been stretched into it. Are you the memory of me? No, I am the possibility of you. The version that never walked into the monolith. The one who let him win. I still exist. Out there in minds that wonder what if. Greater than. Ilya's jaw tightened. Then why show yourself now? The mirror shimmered because Lysen left behind a seed. It grows still. In one mind, a child, not born yet, but dreaming of stars. If the dream takes shape, the fracture opens again. Ilya stepped forward. Then I'll stop it. You cannot enter reality again. Not as you were. You are unwritten. Greater than. He placed a hand on the mirror. Then write me differently. The mirror pulsed. Cracks laced its surface. You will return, as myth, as story. A whisper in the ears of those who doubt, but not flesh, not form. Greater than. Do it. The mirror shattered, and the world dissolved. Across 1,000 light years, a girl named Alan sat up in her sleep, gasping. Her small ship drifted near an asteroid belt, her father snoring in the next room. The nav lights blinked slowly, harmless.com. But in her mind, something had just spoken, a man, with tired eyes, and a voice like distant thunder. Don't look for a rayless 9. The next day, she would draw the face from her dream, and then forget it, but the shape would remain. So would the feeling, like gravity bending near a memory, far away. In the void where time had no grip, Ilya stood again. Not as flesh, not as shadow, but as echo, watching. Waiting. Until the day she disobeyed the warning, and came looking for a planet that was never real. Ellen was 17 when she found the transmission. It wasn't meant for her, wasn't meant for anyone, but it came through the static anyway. Buried beneath the relicode of old star maps, wrapped in obsolete encryption. The message pulsed once across her console, then vanished. 4 words. It dreams beneath us. She blinked, looked again. Nothing, just the dull hum of deep space and her father's exhausted voice calling from the engine bay. But something had already shifted inside her. That night, she dreamed of a man with a broken medallion and a name she couldn't remember. He stood on a planet that twisted like thought. Behind him, the stars bled in reverse. He spoke, but no sound came. Just emotion, sacrifice, warning, a choice still echoing. She woke screaming. The next day, the Fowler's Grace received a high-priority distress signal. A science vessel, Zephyr Core, had gone dark near the abandoned sector once marked as Aurelius 9. That name didn't exist in modern archives. Officially, it never had. But the coordinates matched what Alan had seen in her dreams. Her father refused to answer the call. That sector's cursed, he muttered. Dead ships don't need rescuing. But at night, when he slept, she changed the course. When they arrived, there was nothing. No Zephyr Core, no wreckage, just silence, and a shimmer in space like heat off glass. And then the console lit up again. Not with text, with an image. The monolith. Intact, waiting. Alan stepped closer to the screen and placed her fingers on it. Her pupils dilated. Blood rushed to her ears. She heard the whisper again. Louder now. You are the first to remember. Her father stormed into the bridge, saw the image, and froze. Not in shock, but in recognition. His eyes widened, horrified. Where did you get that? You know, she said. I was made to forget it. He grabbed her wrist, pulled her back. We're leaving, now. But behind them, the ship's lights dimmed, and the stars outside rearranged themselves. A new voice came through the comes familiar, tired, impossibly far, Ilya's voice. Alan, you're dreaming, it awake. You have to choose. Greater than, the monolith pulsed. A gate began to open. Her father screamed as the ship groaned, metal tearing under pressure that wasn't real, not mechanical. Mental Ellen stepped forward, and time cracked. She was no longer on the ship. She stood inside a plane of shifting memory, lavender sky above, and Ilya before her. He looked the same as her dreams, aged ghostly, willing himself into shape. He spoke gently. Last time, I locked it with sacrifice. This time, you have another way. Alan looked behind her. The forbidden planet loomed like a thought. Everyone was too afraid to finish. I don't understand, she said. You don't have to. You just have to believe it was never real. But it is. I see it. That's the trap. You believing it makes it real again. She trembled. What happens if I don't believe? Then it sleeps. And if I do, it wakes. She turned, facing the monolith one final time. The sky trembled. You are the author now. Greater than Alan closed her eyes. And forgot. The monolith shattered. The planet unraveled. The sky turned gold. She opened her eyes back on the Fowler's Grace. The coordinates were blank. The screen was dark. Her father slept peacefully in his chair. There was no transmission, no signal, no Aurelius 9. It had never existed. And yet, far away, deep, in a rift between memory and myth, a whisper stirred. Just for words. It dreams beneath us. And somewhere, a child heard them again, and began to remember.